I saw beam of light everywhere. And then the moment I saw those beam of light, I thought to myself, the rapture is here.
It's like in the corner of her eye, seeing like a little boy or like a little ghost going to one of the rooms.
It's a journey in the self too, because you find your intuition and discernment. But we got to realize that there's duality here.
Maybe 6 or 8 times over the course of a couple of years, I would wake up to this dark figure standing at the foot of my bed.
The green agenda is the obliteration of the human soul. They use children to do that. They can't do it without children. They need pure souls. And you cannot conduct a black mass without pure souls.
When you see that there's darkness, Satan exists, or that there's evil on earth, or that there's actually demons or whatever, I think it's a frequency when we're all together, really.
The light started like flicking off and on. So it was like a toddler, like a 5-year-old or 4-year-old.
At one point it started to gruff. I heard howls. I heard like this puffing sound, and I was petrified. I had no idea what it was.
Well, the demons are here, and they are going to steal the children.
Welcome to the show, everybody. You're listening to Apocalyptic Anomalies, where we shine light on the shadows to unlock all the secrets of our universe. I'm your host, Abner J. Valdez. If you have a crazy experience or story you want to share on the show, email me at apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. That's apocalypticanomalies@gmail.com. Or you can hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. Either way works for me. Just get in contact with me. Today on the show, we have Phil coming on for part 2 of his paranormal experiences, and we even touch in on some UFOs. So let's get into the show right now. Sit back and enjoy the show. Very interesting stuff right there, man. You know, yeah. But I have to answer your question. I have heard of people shooting it or nothing penetrates it. Yeah,
and it doesn't penetrate it. The bullet does it. A lot of accounts. So, take for instance, just this is to hypothesize, right? Just say it is an avatar. Say it's just dropped into our realm. So as we go around a forest, which is a high carbon area, and like a video game, in a complicated scene of a video game, it takes a lot more computing power. So when we're walking into a forest, it happens instantaneously. You could almost call it quantum entanglement, the speed at which the form that we see a forest to take is the speed of quantum entanglement. It's frighteningly fast. But these things drop in, yeah? So they drop in and are avatars. Now, the reason why bullets, I believe, don't penetrate them is because the velocity of the bullet is a standard, you know. So whichever gun it is, firing that bullet, there'll be a set velocity for that bullet. And that velocity will travel through air, and it will slow with distance. But as it's traveling through, as soon as it goes to hit this avatar, this Bigfoot, this dogman, this rake, this whatever cryptid it is, it doesn't affect it because that said cryptid is on a slightly faster time frame than our time frame we've shot the bullet at. It could be on a slightly slower time frame. That would make all the difference. It would take the energy out of that bullet. It would nullify it. It wouldn't even know because it's on a totally different, slightly different time frame. That's the reason why I believe the Everthing Engine has. And I wrote that in 10 minutes, Abner.
Wow.
The Everthing Engine.
Very interesting.
Yeah. The book hopefully will come out next year, I'm hoping.
Well, once that comes out, I definitely want to get you back on the show and, have you discuss that with me and the audience. Bring us down another experience, something that you can share with the audience if possible. I think that'd be great. You have a lot of great encounters and experiences, and I think, I just want to get a few more for this episode. I got to get you back on the show regardless to do more because I feel like you have a lot to talk about. So.
Oh, thanks, Abner. Yeah, UFO wise, there was a very strange account that I had with 3 friends, and we were. What it was, I was with 3 of my mates, and we decided to take. One of my mates said, "Look," he asked his mum because she had a Volkswagen Golf Mark II. And it was kind of, we were young then, and a Volkswagen Golf was quite a like fastback car. Like, yeah, let's go. So we got some. Am I allowed to say some smoke?
Go for it.
You know what I mean by that?
Go for it.
Okay, so we got some weed, and we kind of. I don't do drugs now. I don't even drink now, but I don't condone it at all. But yeah, we just think that happened. So we had some weed, yeah, right. So, and we went off to a Beaconsfield, which is near Oxford, getting on towards Oxford, and it overlooks, as a high point. So if you can imagine this car park, and it overlooks the lights of London, very high. So we were there and had our legs up on the headrest, and we were just like windows open, and we were like, just like really enjoying the moment, looking out over the lights and looking at the stars, and wondering what the future holds for us, type thing, And I looked across, and one of the lights in the sky was quite low, and it was coming towards us. And I said to my mate, who was by side of me in the back seat, because the nominated driver was like he was the only one that could drive like under the influence of smoke. So the rest of us were like too pussy for that. So we were like, no. But I turned to my mate and I elbowed him. I said, look at that. Look. And he's like, what are you on about? I said, that light looks, it's a plane. I said, it's not a plane, something else. Looks across, and it came out over the horizon, and as it got nearer, it looked like a cigar. It looked the shape of a cigar, but it was a blue-green colour. And it came closer and closer and closer. And my mate went, gee, man, what the hell is that? It passed the back window really close. As it passed the back window, my mate in the front seat turned around, and it was quite funny. If you saw all of our faces, our jaws, we had to pick them up off the floor, and we were just looking at each other. The whole of the interior of that car just lit up, this blue-green glow. And it went straight off into these woods.
Wow.
Now, after we picked up our jaws, we kind of like said, right, drive, go, follow it, just try and follow it. So we couldn't drive through the forest, but we drove around the road in the general direction. And the only thing which was over that way was a large electrical substation, which was enclosed in a fence. And that was at the end of where this thing would have been, in the forest. Whether that had something to do with it, maybe it was gaining energy. I don't know. That was like kind of a bit of an odd one to witness, but it was so close. We all testified, and made statements, told like the local authorities, but nothing ever really came of that.
Yeah,
nothing ever came.
That tends to always happen. Nothing ever, gets out there. Every now and then you see trickles of it, especially now. I feel like you see more of it now, and people coming forward and talking about it. So there's no way of really hiding it and stuff. But I feel like most of the time they try to hide these things to make it unreal to people. How big would you say? I for sure, man. The government, they're in cahoots with everything. It's crazy. But how big would you say this cigar-shaped UFO was, in your opinion?
I would say around 8 foot long.
From your point from the sky.
Yeah, I would say about 8 foot long. Not massive. It wasn't massive. It wasn't huge. It wasn't some huge big thing. And no, that's the odd thing about this. Kind of like this with the drones. We see these spheres.
Yeah.
I've seen an awful lot of orbs before witnessing sightings of cryptids. I remember seeing a rake, A rake is very, very, very rare. If anyone's seen a rake or knows of one, it's quite a bulbous head, really ugly, very spindly, very thin, arms, exceedingly long arms and legs, very thin. And I saw one in a place in the UK which is famous because it's a gorge, which is a natural fissure, if you like, in the land, and very, very deep, very steep sides. And I have a lot of good camera gear. Okay, so one of my cameras has got an incredible zoom on it, really, really incredible zoom, very clear. So I took photos, and listen, when you go out, anyone that goes out, don't forget the little things. Don't think, oh, it has to be something big that comes out before you photograph. Just photograph or video the benign. What is even benign? Because hidden in the benign is these things. I was photographing the woods, and it wasn't until afterwards I was processing the image. Now, I don't use AI. Even on my thumbnails video, I don't use AI. I try to stay clear of it. I think that's because I'm sort of like a bit of an antique, and AI, I just don't, But I looked closely at the woods, and blow me down. There was this. 1 minute you see an image of it where there's nothing there. Then there is this image of this by the edge of the woods, looking down the gorge at the people in the gorge. You see this spindly legged, bulbous headed, very pale, very, very pale cryptid creature just out from the edge of the wood looking down the gorge. And I was like, what? Honestly, oh my God, seriously? Yeah. And it's the little things in life, don't ever ignore the little things. I took the dogs for a walk. Stupid little stuff like this happens. Okay. I took the dogs for a walk. And because I take them to the vets, one of our dogs, 2 Jack Russell Terriers, one is half Chihuahua. And let me tell you, you don't have to have a big dog to be, you get a Chihuahua and it gets revved up, my word, I tell you, it will attack anything, it will have them by the ankles. But I always like to get them checked up on, because one of my dogs has got pancreatitis. She's getting on a bit, so I would get them checked up and weighed and stuff, I love my dogs. So, I was walking along to the vets, and I saw this guy, and he looked kind of just off. He didn't quite look, his clothing was off. He had like a white t-shirt, a lovely suit jacket on, but he was carrying a leather satchel, a real small leather satchel, not too big either, and shorts. Now, with trainers, but he just looked off to me, just looked off. Anyway, I passed him, and, he went on his way. I went one direction, he went the other in the pavement. Then I saw him again, about 150 yards later. The same satchel, the same jacket, the same t-shirt, and the same shorts and shoes. And he passed me again. The thing is, I looked back, and he was in front of himself. There was one in front of the other, 150 yards or so apart, with the same gait as well. Left, right, left, they were walking the same way. I did have camera with me. I did have my phone with me. But getting it out with 2 Jack Russell Terriers pulling on you, I didn't. I wish I did. But again, witnessed it, saw it. There was other people walking on the pavement as well. They were absolutely oblivious. Whether they saw it and didn't think anything of it, sometimes a lot of people, you can walk past a 2-headed, nowadays, it amazes me when I go into London, the incredible weird stuff you see, and people just walk past it like it's nothing. There could be a street act Yeah, and street actors like doing some amazing things where how is he defying gravity and floating? And people will walk past it. Whereas 150 years ago, that would be like, oh, it's magic. How are you doing it? But now people are almost numb to it. They're dumbed down to it, you know. So maybe it was that, but there was other people on the pavement, but they didn't seem oblivious. I was like stopped, looked behind me, and I was like, wow, what? Yeah. So I don't know. Is that a glitch? You know, is that a glitch? Is that the filaments fitting together that didn't quite fit together and I witnessed it? I don't know.
Yeah, it almost seems like a glitch. Like, because they talk a lot about, I mean, we could go down this if you want. They talk a lot about like Mandela effects and deja vu and stuff like that. How like, so deja vu is what people say it is. It's kind of like you have that moment where you've kind of been there and everything kind of freaks you out. You're like, I've been here before. You know, and you're like, you look at everything and you're like, I've seen this before. I'm wearing the same clothes, talking to the same person, wearing the same thing. It's just like very strange, right? And you've never been there before, but you feel like you've lived it before. And in that moment, everything comes through like you've been here before. So it's kind of like, what is that, right? What is that, right? Is that a glitch? Or the Mandela effect that some people remember, you know, something like an example. The Monopoly game with the guy with the monocle, right? Some people remember he had a monocle and some people don't. Why is that? What is that, you know? Is that a glitch in our reality? You know, something going on.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, you said that sometimes when these entities or these cryptids enter our reality, something in our dimension or in our reality shifts. Could those be that, you know? Could that all trickle down and fit in that puzzle like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. See, I think you're on the right track. I think, you see, what I kind of theorize about is that we have our brain, right? We only use 10%. I might use a bit less than that, but we use about 10% of our brain, okay? Which is nothing, absolutely, you know, nothing. We know that. That's fine. Now, our consciousness, is that our soul? Would you say that's our soul, our consciousness? Is that external to us or is it internal? Because I ask that because it's known that coma patients that basically flatline. I'm not saying dead, they haven't died, but their brain activity, you know, there's no spark, there's no electrical feed coming from their synapses to the hippocampus. There's nothing, you know, they're basically flatlined. They're kept alive, but there's, you know, the lights are on, but nobody's home at all. You know, they're kind of like, and yet they wake up after and they turn around and there's been accounts after accounts after accounts where they say, nurse, thank you so much for coming in, holding my hand. And that's like, how do you know that? My sister came in. It was so lovely that she kissed my forehead. It was really nice to see her. But hang on, there was no brain activity. You were induced coma. How do you know that? Now, maybe it's because it's giving us a tantalizing window, an insight into the fact that maybe there is an external mind we have that we all feed into. And what we call consciousness or a soul is part of this external, bigger expanse of a mind that is always aware, always looking, always having sensation, able to have sensation of us. I had another thing that happened to me. Right, I was in my 30s and I lived in this is not massively long, okay, but
take your time.
I was in my 30s and okay, right, I was in my 30s and I was a bit of a low point in my life, I do believe also that we get, just as a caveat on this, I think that when people have instances of activity, it is when they're either emotionally vulnerable or even emotionally ecstatic, even when they're in the opposite pole. It kind of manifests for some reason. Our emotional awareness and our emotional demeanor has an effect on this as well. But anyway, I was at a bit of a low point, and I'd lost a bit of faith in the Lord, which everyone does at some point. There's something which tests us, and stuff in my life was going on, and I was like, why, why, and everyone knows at the end, if you're watching this and you're going through that, believe me, there is a reason for whatever's going on, and it will come out good. Promise you, it will come out good. Everything does. The big man has a plan. Okay, so anyway, so I went to sleep this evening, and I lived in a bedsit, which is a single room flat. Okay, studio apartment. And to turn the lights off, there was very little in it. I just had my shackles in a bag. Well, I had, I didn't have very much in my life really at all. And there was a wardrobe in there. There was obviously a door, wardrobe, and on the other side of the room was a sash window, an old-fashioned sash window with the weights and the ropes on the sides, and that was there. Some amber street lighting was coming in the room. Anyway, I looked across, and because I woke up, must have been about close to the devil's hour, funny enough, yeah. So you got the devil's hour, which is about 3 o'clock in the morning, yeah, which is the exact opposite to the time Christ was crucified, which is 3 p.m. in the afternoon. So, Black Mass and Black Witches use.
Can I pause you there? Anyway, isn't that very interesting, though? Mm-hmm. I mean, we could talk about that in a different podcast, but that is very interesting stuff. Maybe we should touch in on that.
Yeah, sure. That's fine. That's fine.
But keep going. Yeah. Sorry to cut you off.
Okay, no worries. Right, so there was this, I looked across the room by the window, and there was this ball. It was a ball of black mass, just a mass of swirling black smoke almost. Anyway, this, as I looked, I found I couldn't move my arms off the bed. I couldn't move my legs off the bed. That really scared me. I was like, what? No control. What was going on? My eyes I could move. I couldn't talk. But I felt like screaming. And I watched this ball, this mass, and it was blacker than the dark of the room. Really, really black. It was almost sucking any remnants of light in a room out into it. And it manifested into this shape, and it was the shape of okay, you're gonna freak out, man. I'll tell you what, if people comment and like go, this guy is on, I wasn't on drugs, okay, I promise you I wasn't. Okay, think of the Pied Piper. Yeah, the image of the old Pied Piper story, very spindly legs, stick-like legs, and stick-like arms. But everything on this figure, as it manifested, it was an old house I was in, so it had vaulted ceilings that are very high. It might have been about 10, maybe 12 foot high. We get it over here in the UK. These very old houses have high ceilings. So this thing was massive. And as it walked along, I could see it was angular. It was triangle shaped. Its hat was triangle shaped. It had very sharp angular edges to its arms, its legs. It wasn't a human figure. It had the form of legs and arms moving. And interestingly enough, right, I'm trying to think. Okay, years and years and years ago, in medieval times, you might have seen it on movies where men used to go about in skirts, these sort of like really weird Edwardian type skirts, which came down halfway down their thigh. It was like the in fashion. It was there's a word for them. It almost looked like it was wearing a skirt.
They're not kilts.
Like kilts, yeah.
Okay,
like kilts. Okay, that's better. Like kilts. It almost looked like it was wearing a kilt. Remember, all I saw was shadow. It was a profile. And it got up, manifested, walked along the wall until it was at the end of the bed. So if you like, my head was directly facing it towards the end of the bed. I didn't see this, but I felt it. I felt it was coming closer to me. And now I don't know how to. Anyone that doesn't believe in God would quickly believe in a divine spirit very quickly. This thing that I witnessed emanated such badness, evil, palpable sense of torture and dread. It was just a bottomless pit of despair emanated from this thing. To say it scared me, I tell you, Abner, a little bit of weed came out. I was that scared. Yeah. I could not move. And it said something to me, and I'd be lying if I knew what it said, but it growled it. Once again, a low voice. It growled it. But it wasn't the same growl that I had before. It wasn't the same voice I heard before. It's different. It was just a thunderous. I felt it in my chest. It was almost like, people talk about, what's the name of that? What's the name of that sound which is below frequency? Infrasound. Infrasound.
Okay. I've heard of that, yeah.
Yeah, it was almost like infrasound. Yeah. So it's like kind of just you can feel it in your body, your chest. Yeah. And then it backed off up against the wall again, and I saw it. And when it moved, its legs. Imagine, these really freaky, like Chinese troops that you see when they're marching in Tiananmen Square. And they're marching along, and they kind of like have their footsteps are kind of exaggerated, and they bring their knees up 90 degrees to their waist.
Yeah.
It moves like that. When it stepped, it brought its knee up to 90 degrees before it took a step, almost as if like old Nosferatu you see in a shadow, the old Nosferatu film, not the new one coming out. I'm looking forward to that one, but the old one where it like kind of you see it and its hands are like. It brings its knee up very high and moves forward. Exaggerated walk
very
like that.
Strange.
Yeah, and then went off towards the door. Anyway, I don't remember anything. It kind of zapped me out. I don't remember a thing after that. I woke up.
Wow.
Morning time.
Wow.
Bear in mind it was a bed set, okay? Now, this house was a shared house, and it had all kinds of people there. All kinds of people. Travelers. It was the type of place where you walk up the staircase, you go to your room. As you pass each door, the locks, there were padlocks with latches, were on the outside of doors. Yeah, because people were so transient that lived there that the landlord comes, another one's disappeared. I'll put a padlock on the door. That type of place. Yeah, quite rough. You had to watch your back. So I always made sure, always. It doesn't matter if I wasn't drunk or anything that night, but all right, look, I was at low point, but I never drunk spirits. I probably had a beer or two, and that was it. But I always locked the door, because what little bits I did have in my life, and for my own safety, you don't know who's in that house. Yeah. So I woke up in the morning, looked across, door was open. Yeah. I did have a witness to that as well. It wasn't just me.
I'm just writing down notes. I'm listening to what you're saying. I'm writing down notes because very interesting stuff. I liked when you touched in when you said, "I never drunk spirits." So for the audience listening, because I have some type of, I kind of know where you're going with this, but for the audience that's listening, what do you mean by "I never drunk spirits"? Can you emphasize on that?
Yeah, sure. I never. It's 2 level really. I've got Crohn's disease. Okay, so for a large majority of my life, I didn't know it was undiagnosed. I didn't know, but with Crohn's disease, what happens is every now and then your stomach will get inflamed. Your large intestine and your lower intestine will get inflamed, and you'll go through a period of pain in your stomach, and then diarrhea. So there's certain things, even though it's undiagnosed, I knew there were certain things that I wouldn't have because it would affect my stomach. So from a medical point of view, I didn't drink liquor. Because if I drank liquor, you could kiss it goodbye with me. I'd be just sat on the toilet and the pain would be unbelievable. Yeah. My stomach couldn't take it. Okay. So 1-2 beers is fine, but nothing more than that. Even if I have too much of that, it wouldn't be a good thing for me. It wasn't diagnosed until later in life. After a whole battery of tests, because they didn't know they thought it was cancer, first of all. So I was on the cancer pathway because I thought I had stomach cancer. Luckily, thank God, I didn't. But okay, it's manageable. It's not the end of the world. It's manageable. I changed my diet. I have treatment, but it's manageable. But, I'm very, 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 very lucky. So but that's one of the reasons why I didn't drink spirits. Yeah. Secondly, I didn't really like the taste of them, to be honest. I didn't find one that I really my favourite out. If I tried one, it probably would have been Jim Beam. But still, even then, if you give me a beer, if it was between beer or a short, I'll have a beer. That's fine, But now I gave up for years anyway. For now, because it's just not worth putting your stomach through it, really. But yeah. So, and being British, tea.
Yeah, I like tea.
A good old cup of tea.
I like tea and coffee in the morning and throughout the day when I need it. I wanted to touch on again when you said I never drunk spirits. To me, I was thinking more of the spiritual aspect, right? The supernatural aspect, because when a lot of people tend to drink, right? They turn into something else, they turn into a different person almost, like when they get drunk or whatever. And then they don't remember, right? It's almost like something takes over them at that moment, that short, time frame, that hour, that 2 hours, and they don't remember what's going on. Because they say that liquor, there's attachments to liquor and spirits. That's why they say, a lot of liquor stores say liquor and spirits. So it's like, there might be something attached to those certain, alcohols or liquors that, manifest themselves in your life at that point that change the trajectory of, that time frame, and that's why you see some people are like, oh, I don't know what happened. All I remember is that I got drunk, and then people are like, yo, you were acting crazy, It's like, but that's not me.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then what is it, So it's also a supernatural aspect to that, like you said, changing your diet and stuff like that. I wanted to touch back on earlier. We were talking about how, do we live in the physical, right? And is our spirit and soul something internal or external, right? From my perspective, when I pray and I fast, right? I feel like I'm living in a physical world, but I feel like I'm a little bit outside. Like, I can't explain it. It's like I'm kind of walking in the spirit a little bit, and it feels like I'm outside of my body, maybe by like an inch. You know what I mean? It could be the hunger or praying and stuff like that, but it almost feels like kind of like you're not in your physical body, like right now, because I'm eating and stuff like that. But sometimes when you fast, it feels like you're living in the spiritual world almost. You're more in tune with things, like you sense things around you, and touching up just a little bit on that. Sometimes it almost feels like food is a poison, like we live in a society where you eat a lot, food is so available to you, McDonald's, whatever, right? You could just drive up to a drive-through, grab some food, and you're good. A lot of people overeat, and that's also not good. But just to go back on that, it almost feels like when you fast and when you pray, you get more in tune with your spirit. You're walking kind of in your spirit instead of just the physical. So I tend to agree with what you said with everything cryptid and paranormal and stuff like that. It's you get more in tune with stuff like that. So I do believe we live in both aspects of that.
I agree totally. I think abstinence from like you say, from fasting is good. It's good for your body. It's also good for your soul. Definitely with alcohol, we have alcohol to a lot of times because it's a coping mechanism, and you often find people that are hooked on alcohol, or badly hooked on alcohol, will make excuses to drink alcohol. If there is no reason to drink it, they'll make an excuse to drink it. Well, I had a crap day. Oh, did you? Yeah. Well, that's why I need to sit in a bar and get drunk, because it was so crap. Well, I had a crap day, but I kind of like, I don't have to get out of my head on alcohol. And it does, it changes. And also with alcohol, it clouds your soul, it clouds your spirit and your mind, very much so. And if you are interested in these things, it will cloud that. The good positive aspects will be clouded. Okay, the bad negative aspects will come through because you're weak. It's good, it's seen the weakness and it will come through. So you'll only get one side of it. On that shadow being, I was in a low point I spoke about. Okay, I was in a low point. I saw the shadow being, and I felt this tremendous feeling of badness. In contrast to that, immediately afterwards, when I woke up that day, I went out. I couldn't go to work, and I sat in a park, and I kid you not, I had this feeling like everything I was looking at, seeing, hearing, sensation was being sent up. It was being uploaded to something. I couldn't tell you what, but do you know what I was getting in return? This wonderful, warm, all-encompassing glow. And I looked around me and I knew that I was more, it sounds egotistical to say that I was more special than people walking around me, but I felt like I was chosen, if you like. I felt I was special to that person up there.
Yeah.
There was something which was telling me, look, and it's enough to make me cry to think of how lovely that feeling was. And that was for a 3-day period. I had that feeling, 3 days. Just ecstatically happy and almost like giving me back. It took sensation and experience I had, almost uploading my thoughts, and gave me back this wonderful feeling.
Yeah.
So you're spot on the money.
Yeah,
spot on the money.
I believe you are chosen, man. Through all your experiences, the things that you're telling me, the things that you've experienced, and nothing has really harmed you. Maybe installed a little bit of, fear in you a little bit for that moment, but you've always overcome it, and you have a connection with God. It talks to it in the Bible, and I don't want to sound so preachy and stuff, but it talks to it in the Bible that, God will come and choose his people at the end of times. And I feel like we're living at the end of times, with everything going on, you kind of feel it and sense it around you. And God is, selecting his chosen, so that's why you see people that are in tune with what is going on around them in the spiritual in the spiritual sense, and some that are just still lost, you know. And there's no way of pulling them in. All you could do is plant that seed, man, you know, and hopefully they listen, you know. But yeah.
Hopefully they do. There was another quick one where this just exemplifies really the power of the word of God. And that is, I was in the woods quite a long way in, okay? And I was a long way in, and I was with my dogs, and we were walking along. Now, every now and then, what you will find is you'll find structures in the woods, okay? You'll find teepee shapes made out of sticks and branches. You'll also find large X's. Yeah, really large X's, and Ys as well, Y-shaped branches hanging, or, you know. And if you're going along a path and you find that there's a tree lifted up by its roots and placed in front of you, like a barrier that you can't go on anymore, be careful. Be careful, because I had that once. I've had it a few times, but this one particular time, and I looked back and I could hear wood knocking. I heard the wood knocking going on. Looked behind, had a camera with me. The dogs went a bit funny. You know, they went a bit squirrely, the dogs did, you know. So I looked behind me, and I got them on their leads, and looked behind, and I could see a type 3 bipedal large dog man, black, looking at me behind, from the brush. Now, type 3 is, I believe, genetically made. It is made, okay. It's almost like it is a custom built predatory soldier. It's like nothing else. Not like a type 1. It's not like a type 2. It is custom made predatory soldier. It is every facet of this animal is for kill, basically. It's a predator. The one thing that saved me on that one, because I saw it looking at me and it advanced a little way. I did get it on video as well. So if you want to check out the channel, I got it on video.
Yeah, definitely.
That's fine. But by reciting the Lord's Prayer, it backs off. There is something in the name of Jesus Christ that they do not like. And I've come across this when I've been ghost hunting. I've come across this when I've been in places where I thought is demonic, cryptids, even mentioning that Jesus Christ, they will back off. They will back off, man. They're like, no. There is a power there in that name. There's a power. Another time I did it this is another video that I done. If you go into Dogman TP Hunting, this is one of my first videos. I pinned it to the actual profile, and this was crazy. I was walking in the woods, dogs again, brilliant. One of the reasons I take the dogs, okay, is because they're little, they're small, they're terriers, so they're very quick. But they're used to going, like, if they have to underground, they go in tunnels. You know, they're kind of like very acutely trained sense. They can kind of, they're meant for ratting. You know, that's what they're meant for, yeah? Things like that. So they're very quick. Their fast twitch muscle groups are just like, boom, bang on it, you know? And they sense something. Whenever they sense something, I kind of take notice. Always trust your dog. Always trust your dog. They know stuff. So, and I looked, and I panned the camera around, and it was deer, 3 deer, and beautiful creatures. And I zoomed in, and I kind of like, you know, took video of the deer. Then the dog started going really crazy, and I thought, what? Oh, come on, what's going on? They were on the lead at the time, and I kind of had to bring the camera down, kill the shot. While I untangled the lead, I was like, "What are you doing, guys? Come on, get yourself together. Come on, let you tie me up." Right. So I got them all settled. Put the camera back on the deer. The deer were looking at something. All 3 deer their heads weren't looking at me. They were looking over. They're still in the same position. What they were looking at was this shimmering gold entity. It was shimmering, bright gold. The video shows it as a silver gold entity that wasn't there previously. Luckily, I caught it in perspective to the trees, and there's a branch lying on the ground in front of it, which I caught previously when it wasn't there. And I caught the deer, and I caught there was nothing there. And then when I set up the shot again, it was there. And I had this feeling once again of, you would think to yourself, a gold shimmering, something nice. It wasn't. It was something really, really bad, really intent on evil. I got that strong feeling. Again, the word of Jesus Christ, it kind of backed off. When I looked at the film afterwards, there was this, to the left-hand side, this massive, great Bigfoot creature coming out of the woods towards this shimmering gold figure. So I believe it to be maybe a Bigfoot helping me against this beast.
Wow.
That was shimmering in gold. So that was another one where the word of God just worked. But as I say, I'm not.
Why do you think the name of Jesus is what stops it? In your opinion, why do you think?
Personally thinking, but personally, everything is linked, Abner. The alien thing is linked. Look, with the aliens, all right, just quickly. With the UFOs, all right, when we see footage of the UFOs going along, nearly every time we see it, they move in a really weird way. They kind of like go along for a stretch, then stop, then jitter, then move along again, then stop, and then they stop on film, and then move along. It's almost as if they're kind of like glitching every now and then going on, then glitching. It's never very well defined. It's always kind of just, even with our superb cameras that people have, 4K cameras, 8K cameras, and they're still just laughingly out of focus. And they're moving in such a manner that it's not linear. It's not just moving across for us. Once again, the Everthing Engine, if they are on a slightly different frame of reality, not by much, then of course they're going to be moving in a slightly different rate of frame, So that accounts for that, I think, for a certain degree. I think that all of these experiences and accounts people have from dogmen, Bigfoot, UFOs, aliens, I think have a common thread. And I think the emanation of that thread is going back to biblical times. I think you do have good, you do have bad, you have evil, and you have good. You have Lucifer, morning star, and you have God, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. And I think that years ago, they were telling us this. They've told people generations about this. Only with our technology are we able now to see glimpses of these things. Whereas before we didn't. Before we lived in little villages, and the only thing we really had of information of the big wider world about seeing spheres in Iraq and these different creatures and cryptids and stuff would be by having travellers come to the village. Oh, hello. You're right, Abner. Yeah, not too bad, Phil. Actually, Phil, where'd you come from? Oh, I came from the coast, the next village down. Guess what, Phil? Guess what? I saw this silver light in the sky, and it was, no, really? Yeah, and by the way, there's the war going on. What? Yeah, I heard about it at the coast. Yeah, the troops are all gathering together, and they're gonna, I think they call it the Crusades. No, didn't hear about that. No, but that's because you live in a little village and you haven't got internet and you haven't got the phones and you haven't got TV, and the media aren't shoving all this crap out at you, Phil. That's why. But because we have all that, that is what majority of people go by. They go by the news. They go by what they're told. We can't help it because in our own way, we are in the little villages. We're still in that little villages. We ourselves can't travel to these places, but the interpretation of what they want to give us is what they want to give us. Yeah? but it's biblical. It's black and white. It's good and evil. Essentially, I think a lot of what we're seeing has evil ends, I think.
Yeah. And slowly the veil is thinning. That's why you see a lot more things popping up to our reality.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's the awakening of people waking up and seeing and believing more, you know, and things are manifesting through our reality. But I think something is going on, you know. It's end times, man. You know?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. You're spot on. Yeah.
I want to touch back on that Bigfoot that you saw. Can you explain what that Bigfoot looked like when you saw it? How tall was it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I would say it's about I'd say it's about 4 or 5 foot across, shoulder length across, massive. No neck. It had grey or silvery black fur. It must have stood somewhere in the region of, going by the trees, because I went back there and I had a little look and I saw the trees in relation to the video, and I kind of like worked out it must have been between 12 and 15 foot in height.
Wow.
Must have been.
That's massive.
No neck at all. Huge, big thing. You know, it dwarfed this gold. When you look at the video, the gold entity, it dwarfed it. And yet the gold entity was bigger than me. This is at a distance, but you could see it was big. Because the deer were good, because the deer were there to give perspective. The deer were right by us. The deer were here looking at the gold entity, and then behind it, boom, came this big Bigfoot creature. So yeah, that was quite a thing to see, you know.
Yeah, definitely amazing, man. Like, I don't know, I could only imagine if I would have saw something like that, I would have definitely been freaked out, you know, like, whoa.
Oh yeah, man. So, yeah, definitely freaked out. Only other time I've seen a Bigfoot is at Cannock Chase. They're very rare in the UK. You do get them normally up in the Scotland, up the Highlands. So in Scotland, we've got a very, very thick, dense forests in the Highlands. And they live in packs up there, but they're quite aggressive up in Scotland. But I saw one in Cannock Chase, which is in the Midlands, if you like, in the centre of the UK. Can you spell that for me?
How do you spell that?
Cannock. Cannock. It's Cannock.
CK, and then Cannock, what was it?
Cannock.
And the area is called the Cannock what?
Chase. Chase.
Cannock Chase, and that's in the UK?
Yeah, UK.
I want to look into that. That's why I'm just writing down notes when you talk.
Yeah, if you put in Cannock Chase, it's a very well-known wood. I'm between two forests, really. I've got Epping Forest, very well known for cryptids, ghosts. It's got one of those roads where you can park on, and it feels like you're going uphill when actually you're going downhill. Lots of activity there. And Cannock Chase is where you'll find black-eyed children, pigman, ghosts, people out of time have been witnessed there. It's about 33 miles of forest.
Well, if I'm ever in the UK area, I got to look you up, man.
Oh,
you know,
hit me up, man.
That'd be great. You know, I don't know when that's going to happen, but if it does happen, I'm definitely going to look you up, and you're going to be my tour guide, man. So,
yeah, for sure. But loads of stuff to
let me go back to what you were talking about. You were talking about an experience in the Cannock Chase area, and I cut you off. I do that a lot. Sure. Apologize.
No worries. So I was in Cannock Chase, and I was with the grandson. And he's 13, and so why we were there was because my other passion is motorbikes. So we went to Donington to see the World Superbikes, which is quite close by. But we camped at Cannock Chase because I thought, you know what, it'd be quite nice, quite cool. I'm interested in sort of like some of the weird stories you hear. So I thought I'll camp right near there. You know, bad idea. No, Phil, don't be so stupid. No. You know, sometimes you do get what you wish for. And so I was out with a grandkid, and of course he's 13, and a lot of the times he kind of like just goes around, you're looking at ghosts and Bigfoot again, are you? If you're looking at, dog man, and he's with his phone on TikTok, you know, watching about how someone does some phone hack, you know, and I'm like, come on, man, get with it. Look, you know, so kids nowadays are funny, man. Kids are funny. You know, you're in a beautiful forest, you know, so, you know, don't worry about the phone hacks, all right? You know, like, no, it's brilliant. All right, so anyway, so he was the one who first of all said to me as we were going round, we've got to this particular part of Cannock Chase, which is always very strange, because when these things happen, you've heard this probably before, it's like entering a bubble of silence. The sounds of the forest are not there. It just goes completely quiet. Just nothing.
Would you say it's somewhat like a portal?
Yeah, I guess so. I would call it like a bubble of silence. Yeah. That's what I would do. It'd be like a portal bubble of silence. It's possibly you walked into a portal, but there's no sensation of walking into a portal, but you feel this. I don't know, it's odd. It is an odd feeling. It just goes quiet. The natural sounds of the forest, birds, silence. You know, but silence, proper silence, you know. And Tommy was like saying to me, he said, Phil, can you hear that? I was like, what? He said, I can hear like grunting. I'm like, what? And at that point, because it was silent, I was like, well, just hang on, Tommy, wait a minute. So something's not quiet. Do you hear that? Has everything gone quiet to you? He said, yeah. But he said, I can hear like grunting sounds. I was like, now, in Cannock Chase, they did release wild boar back into Cannock Chase some time back. I said, well, perhaps it's a wild pig. You know, it could be a wild pig somewhere. He said, no, it's been following us for some time, Phil. I didn't mention it because I was just like too busy on TikTok, and I just like didn't think to mention it. But now it's all gone quiet. I can hear it. So I listened. Because I'm sort of like old, knackered. I'm not 13. You know, I don't have hearing, and it was like quite. He said it's faint, but you can hear it. So I was like, right, okay. I believe you. You know. I said, it's fine, brother, no problem. It's all right. And I panned the camera around. At that point of panning the camera around, I saw something I thought was a bird taking off from the brush on the ground. And I looked across, and then I saw this dark figure standing between two trees. And Abner, it was huge, absolutely huge. Tommy saw the this bird we thought was a bird going through the air, but it just went through the air and disappeared. This thing did, and then this image of this dark black tall creature, but you could see it was furry. You could see it was fur looking at us. So anyway, we got out of there, man. We just got out of there. Okay, I you know, I said, let's go. So we went. Got it all on video. Luckily, I got it all on video, which is cool. Yeah. So anyway, I look back over the video, and what you can see is it's not a bird. It's something which is thrown at us. This creature threw something at us, and you can see it going through the air. It almost, I put it as being, it looks, I know, okay, it looked like a lightsaber. It was like shiny. It was sort of a shiny thing. It reflected light, but it came through the air from it towards us. And then the creature you can see in the distance, but also I ripped a couple of stills off, just to emphasize the fact you can see it turning and going back into the woods. You can see its knee coming up and turning and going back into the woods. So that was another instance, which was like sometimes, you know, Don't wish if you don't want to. If you don't want to see it, don't wish for it. Scary, big, they're huge, huge.
How big do you think it was in sense of feet? How tall do you think it was?
Going by the trees, I've only got the trees as perspective. I would want to say once again about 12 foot.
Wow.
13 foot, that one, 12, 13 foot high.
Massive.
It makes you think about Nephilim, doesn't it?
I've given that a lot of thought, and not only by things that I've read in the Bible, but also different people talking about it, and it kind of makes you think of the giants, the men of renown that speaks about the Bible, the Nephilim giants and stuff like that. It's like very interesting stuff. Could that be that, because I feel like back in the day, we probably lived longer. We were a lot taller. There was things mixing with other things, DNA mixing with other people's DNA. And if you want to get, crazy, how people like to say, you can even throw the angelic beings, which are the fallen angels that mixed with the women of the earth and had, giants, Nephilim bloodline babies. So very interesting stuff. I mean, definitely a different rabbit hole we can get into. I definitely want to get you back on the show and touch back on stuff because there's so many things that, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. So I'm definitely going to get you back on the show.
Okay.
Yeah. Very interesting stuff. Looking forward to your book too. Please let me know about that when it comes out.
Yep.
But yeah, that definitely gets you thinking about those giants and Nephilim. It's very interesting stuff, man. Very interesting,
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks, Abner.
Yeah, definitely. So before we get out of here, we've been going almost 2 hours. So this is definitely going to be a 2-part episode, for the podcast. I like to do kind of like an hour. So 2 hours is great. That definitely gives me more content to put out for the audience, and I'm sure they'll love that. So
that's true. But be sure to send me a link, and I can then post it on my Facebook and then post it with the groups.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do all that. Before we get out of here, I want you to, if you can, any last words for the audience? Anything else you want to share for the audience before we get out of here?
Yeah. Don't ignore the small things. It's the small things. It's the detail in life that we tend to overlook, but it's in the detail that a lot of this stuff hides. So basically, be careful with your life. Look around you. Not everything is as it seems.
Yeah, very, very good stuff right there, man. Thank you for those words. I'm sure a lot of people in the audience will take that into consideration and install that in their lives. It's always a small detail. So thank you for that. And Phil, one last time before we get out of here, can you please tell the audience where they can find you and your work, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Abner. It's YouTube, Dogman TP Hunting. If you want to hit me up on Facebook, it's just my name, Phil Cotwell, Kotval. It's a bit of a weird one, but just hit me up on that. A podcast, which is the Interdimensional Voyagers podcast. I have been lazy with that, but I'm going to be adding to it. But yeah, just hit me up on any of those. If you've got any questions, criticism, just bring it my way. I'm an open book to all this stuff. That's the only way to tackle it, an open book policy.
I agree, man. Phil, thank you so much for being a guest on Apocalyptic Anomalies, and we'll be in touch to get you back on the show. Have a good rest of the evening. We'll talk soon.
Abner, God bless you. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the show, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Phil, part 2 of the dark side of the Everything Engine. Very interesting episode. Make sure you guys check out his links. They'll be in the description below. And remember to share the show because that's the only way that this podcast will grow. Make sure to give the show a 5-star rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you guys might be listening to the show. It is much appreciated, guys. And for anyone out there listening, if they want to share an experience and be part of the show, please reach out to me because I'd love to hear from you and have you on the show. Until next time, everyone, stay safe, stay blessed, and remember to innovate honesty and always illuminate the truth. Bye.